This week's release of the Shrek 5 teaser trailer has given people a lot of mixed feelings. While some of them are good and some of them are bad, the fact is that a lot of people really care about the Shrek series, because it has been around for over 25 years. So in today's video, we're going to break down the audience's love of nostalgia, and when it's time to move on. But first, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, and share this video with someone that may enjoy it. Or maybe that'll just piss off. So Shrek 5 is scheduled to come out in Christmas 2026. That's 25 years after the April 2021 release of the original Shrek. That's right, it's been a quarter century since the first Shrek graced theaters. And maybe it's time for us to move on from such a series. A quarter century has taken place, and everyone who saw the original one is now an adult. So it would make sense that maybe it's time to move along from this series. 5 movies in a series is enough for you to say, okay, we've seen enough. Especially with the fact that Shrek 4 was pretty garbage. And Shrek 3 wasn't too good either, just being honest. But it's not just Shrek. A lot of movies today are all playing off of the nostalgia vibe. One could argue that basically all of the live-action remakes are just nostalgia, specifically the studios trying to cash in on that nostalgia. People wanting to show their children The Lion King and hoping that the kid will have the same feeling as they did when they saw the cartoon in the theaters. But it's not just this new wave of live-action movies. It's actually been going on for a long time. Think about all the way back to the late 90s, early 2000s. We had that first 101 Dalmatians live-action remake. But they definitely have picked up steam. Time and time again, Disney is cashing in and making a nostalgia live-action film 1 to 2 to 3, sometimes 4 times in a year. In just a few weeks, they're going to cash in on their original cartoon, Snow White. And while I don't think it'll do as good as some of their previous live-action remakes, it'll probably still make $400 to $500 million. Which is not too bad when you don't even have to write the story. And frankly, they didn't write it much in the first place because it was stolen from a fairy tale that was written 400 years earlier. But it's not just Disney. DreamWorks is making a live-action version of How to Train Your Dragon. And why not? That series made a ton of money. Why not just remake it and make a few $100 million? And of course tie it in with their new theme park land that'll be coming out around the same time. But it's not just animation and live-action remakes that are cashing in on the nostalgia. There are plenty of long-running series that probably should just come to an end. They are right now making Scream 7, the 6th sequel in a movie that came out when I was in 5th grade. Mission Impossible is coming out with their final film this year, and maybe it actually is their final film, but I won't believe it until we see Tom Cruise's body before the credits roll. Even John Wick 4 kind of had an iffy ending, and they're constantly talking about bringing him back. Unless you see the body of one of those 2 action heroes, they may just try and cash that check. Transformers has had a lot of sequels despite the fact that only the first one was good. But why not stop making them? They've all made hundreds of millions of dollars. Another sequel that's coming out will be Polar Express 2, finally answering all those unanswered questions from the first film. While I get it might be nice to try and feel that same feeling you had in the theaters 20 years ago, is it really going to feel just as good? Or is it just going to be a remake trying to cash in on that Christmas feeling you had 20 years ago? But let's see if Tom Hanks can now play 47 different parts, maybe even some of the children. The fact is that the studios are picking profit over new ideas. And why not? All of these movies I mentioned are going to turn a profit. Scream 7, they can film those so cheaply. There's like no special effects. And they almost all have the same rough plot line. Polar Express 2, that could make $1 billion, no question. I'm not saying it's not worth it for the studio. Mission Impossible will make $700 to $800 million, and if it truly is their last one, and as good as what Tom Cruise's movies tend to do, it'll make closer to $1 billion. Transformers, I don't actually know anyone who would go and see a Transformers movie, but they somehow seem to exist. Shrek will make over $1 billion, and hopefully it'll be good. But those are 2 unrelated ideas. So it makes complete sense for the studios to want to keep making these movies. They're guaranteed profit, and they don't have to teach the audience about a new storyline. because the movie industry itself has changed in the last 25 years. Streaming has taken over. In fact, a lot of people will only see movies when they come to streaming. And that also has affected the window that movies are in the theaters. They're only there for 6 weeks when they used to be there for closer to 18 to 20. And let's be honest, most movies are only getting multiple screens for 3 or 4 weeks. This all started during the Marvel boom of the late teens and was exacerbated when COVID happened in 2020. Movies just aren't in the theaters long enough to make profit when they're not big blockbusters. So studios aren't going to make all these new side movies and test them out. They want a guaranteed profit, and nothing is more guaranteed than releasing the second or third movie in a series that has already turned profit. Of course, the problem is that you end up having something like the 2024 box office, where 9 out of 10 of the top movies of the year were all sequels or remakes or reboots or live action remakes. Absolutely no ideas really came through in 2024. So how do we get new life for new stories? The hope would be that smaller production studios can make movies that don't have a bunch of special effects so they can actually make them cheaply. And hopefully word of mouth will cause people to go see those movies in the theaters. But I wouldn't be holding my breath hoping that Warner Brothers or Disney or Universal is going to spend too much money on new ideas. It just doesn't make any sense for them. They need product tie-ins, they need ride tie-ins, they need sequels. They want their guaranteed profit. They'd rather re-release Snow White to you than show you a new story that came from a book that came out last year, or even pay a writer to come up with a generally new idea. My hopes for the future are that people stop seeing sequels or reboots. And as a person who goes to see sequels and reboots, I know how hard it can be. But with streaming the way it is now, I'm going to stop spending money on movies that I'm not 100% excited to see. Sure, I'll see them when it comes out to Netflix or Disney Plus in a few months, but you're not going to get my money. I pretty much won't go see any live action remake, but that's just me. But if we don't stop going to see all these reboots and remakes and sequels that all are from movies that were successful 5 and 10 years earlier, well, we're never going to get any fresh stories. And the movie industry will die, swallowing itself alive. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and check out those other videos on screen now.